Hello, everyone. Welcome to Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more. Hope you like what you see. If you do, please subscribe. I like subscribers and more audience to watch. Um, it's a pleasure to be joined by Trevor from Econoline Crush. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Alan. It's great to be here.
Um, where do we start? Well, I guess the first thing I want to talk about, you got a new single out that just came out, what, a few weeks ago, end of September, I believe. And
Yes.
how exciting is that to have a new single out after it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, like we had the When the Devil Drives, we dropped a couple singles 2 years ago. But yes, it is really cool to have a song out and have the reception that we're getting for it. Like people are really liking it, so that makes us happy too. Yeah, it's a really cool feeling having a single out, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really enjoy. Well, that's one thing I really like to push on this channel is not just 80s, 90s, and whatever artist. I like to push the fact that you're still making music today and great music at that. Like, I mean, you know, try and get away from the old stuff and get into the fact that you're still doing it today and at the highest level that you've ever been. And to top it off, you're even going on tour.
Yeah, I mean, this is like I think some people, I can't really speak for a lot of artists, but I can speak for myself. This is a lifelong passion. It's going to be something that I do forever. It's just part of my life. It's like creating music and performing music has been part of my life as long as I can remember, as a kid doing it and then as an adult with a record deal and a rock band. So I love music and I think it helps me process too. Like it's a really interesting way of processing thoughts and ideas and making social commentary to some degree, I guess. And it's just yeah, it's something that I value so much, and I'm so grateful that I can still do it.
Yeah, it's great that you can still tour too. I'm glad. I'm really excited to see you guys go on tour, but the only problem I have is you aren't coming to the Maritimes yet, where I am. But hopefully that changes.
Oh, it makes me crazy because that's been a goal for the last about 5, 6 years. We've been trying to get out there. Hopefully this summer or coming up or next fall, like we'll be that out that way. But so far anyway, as far east as we're going on this front, I think is Montreal.
Okay. But you've been on some other on some tours with other bands, have or are going to be on tour with some other bands coming up, aren't you?
Yeah, we're doing but that tour, the last three dates, I think there's a different opening band, but the first 10 dates will be opening for the band live with big rec and direct supports and us as the opener. And that's in February and March of next year. And I'm looking forward to that tour
Oh, okay, because
very
that
much.
that tour is coming to Moncton, but you guys aren't on that show. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
but I saw that you were on some. I
different
think
open.
I
Yeah.
saw you were on some of the other dates with them, but that should be exciting. Were you a fan of those two bands or?
Yeah, I mean, I know Ian from Big Rec really well and love that band
Yeah.
and have done lots of shows with Big. And live, it's really interesting because the last radio show we did in America, it's kind of like a radio festival. We were headlining the B stage in South Carolina. I think it was Charlotte. And it was a really crazy day. It was our last radio show. Moby opened up for us. So he was second last, we were last. And when we were packing up on the other side, and I could hear live start up and I could hear Ed singing. And I remember telling fans, just friends, I mean, just a couple of months ago, that man, like one of the things, they said, like, what if you could do, what do you regret or whatever? And I go, I don't really have regrets, but I really wish there's certain bands I'd like to see again or hear again, singer. And then all of a sudden we get announced that we're going to be doing or told that we're going to be doing this tour. And it's just crazy. It was almost like we manifested it or something.
That's awesome. I think you guys will blend right in with live and Big Rec, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. No, it'll be a really great.
Well, we have a festival here in Charlottetown. I could see you guys playing it called Somo Fest up at Cavendish. We had Alanis Morissette headline it this year, and I could see you guys doing that at some point. Maybe you guys will come out for that next summer. That would be great.
That would be great.
Yeah. Can we go
I'd
back
love that.
into the history of your band? I saw you guys formed in Vancouver in BC back in 92 or 93, I believe. Um, and then of
Yeah,
course everything really, I mean, my biggest introduction to you guys was the Big Shiny Tunes. So that's where I would have first heard of you guys and then went on from there. So that those Big Tiny Tunes CDs did a lot for a lot of bands back then, I think.
yeah. What was interesting about, like, we were on two, I think, two Big Shiny Tunes, but the one that did the best for us and for Big Shiny Tunes was You Don't Know What It's Like. And what's interesting
Yeah.
about that particular Big Tunes was that You Don't Know What It's Like was not released yet as a single. Generally, the Big Shiny Tunes were a collection of hits, like
Yeah.
songs that had been in the top 10. And so our song was not released before it was on Big Shiny Tunes. And so that's kind of a cool feather in our cap, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you guys really got a kickstart out of that, though. That's cool that it wasn't a single and then it came out on one of those albums. And
Yeah,
it's yeah, I mean, I remember it was a great way to get a lot of good songs without buying every CD that you needed to buy to get all those songs. So that was kind of a neat thing. But that was a different time back then, I guess, wasn't it?
absolutely. Things changed pretty quickly after those Big Shiny Tunes, but yeah, it was fun, and it was a great way for Canadian bands to be on a kind of a greatest hits of the year rock record or pop rock record, and this collection of songs, and you'd be sitting side by side with other international acts, and you could see that the Canadian bands stood up, and that was amazing.
Well, that's what I thought Much Music did a lot of back in the day. They did a lot for Canadian acts starting from the 80s right up until that point. I mean, they used to play Canadian bands right in there with all the big international acts. And it made me think that the Canadian bands were as big as superstars as those guys were. And I give much credit for, doing that, playing Canadian bands and giving them a leg up, when it didn't seem like anyone else was going to.
Well, and it created sort of a star system that allowed, uh,
Yeah,
like you said, it created a star system that allowed bands or gave bands the perception of being bigger, maybe than we were, but also it just proved that what we were doing here in Canada was just as viable and valuable and impactful as what they were doing in other countries. So, we all the bands that made it onto those compilations were worthy of that spot, and they stood the test of time with all the other acts from England and America and Australia and wherever.
definitely. Now you've made a video for this new song, which I'm going to post a link to in the description. So look out for that, everybody. Um, is it still exciting to make a video and actually get it and actually make new music? Will there be an album coming out again
I
with,
hope so. I mean, it's not as easy when you're an indie artist as it is when you have a label paying for things. But yeah, we're trying to make a full length record. We've got a couple singles right now and a bunch of songs kind of partially recorded, half recorded, whatever. So we're working on all that. But making a video is still fun. I always enjoyed making videos. I enjoy the creative process. I mean, that's to me is the magic. It's that getting whatever's going on in your head to kind of come out the speakers is not easy. But once you do, it's one of those magical moments. So I still find the process of recording and writing new
right?
music to be amazing.
And do you have an input into the videos as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We 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 started out with some crazy concept for this one, and we just ended up using the live footage because it was so um impactful and kind of it's always kind of been one of my favorite things too is when a band just straight up records themselves playing. Um I think it's almost more exciting than the extra storyline or whatever because it's just honest, and it's this band just playing the song.
Yeah, the other thing I'm amazed at, I was actually talking to a mutual friend of ours, David McMillan. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm amazed that after all these years you still have the voice. And that's pretty awesome. Um, to hear that you can still sing as good as you ever have. And does that make it easier for you knowing you can still handle it? Like you can still do what you used to do? Like
Yeah. I mean, it's it's hard to know what it's like. Like I live in this body every day, so it's just normal for me. But like, yeah, I understand that like you can feel like it's not the same as when you were younger. But then when we were younger, we were behaving badly probably, and it
yeah.
wasn't always easy to sing because we weren't sleeping or whatever, right? So I don't know. I just like I said, like once we get up on stage and we start playing the music, it's just you're lost in that moment, right? And it's it's magical. It's really a cool thing, and we're really blessed. I feel really blessed that I can still go out there and play music because not everybody can and not everybody gets that opportunity. So we cherish these tours and these moments more than probably we did in the past. That's for sure.
Do you get a chance to interact with some of the fans that you've met over the years? Like, do you ever run into some people that might have seen you like 30 years ago or whatever and still have memories of like, does
Oh
that?
yeah, like that's probably one of the biggest joys of the whole process is that after the set, I usually go and do um, like kind of a signing or I hang out at the merch booth and talk to people and oh, the stories are incredible. And it's amazing to me that these songs that we put together, as a band in East Vancouver, in Ray Fober's basement studio with Reese's dad, and Reese was working on them with us, and then all the stuff we did with Sylvia and on, that it's still impactful today and that people still listen to it, people talk about it, people um, have memories, core memories of their life attached to some of the songs. It's it's a really cool thing. And to hear those stories and how we fit into these lives and played a role in their lives is quite remarkable. It's humbling and I feel like, yeah, a lot of gratitude that we were able to be part of people's worlds.
Yeah, I guess it's fun to see how far your music actually reaches, I guess, right? Like, and that's, you don't really get that unless you go out and actually talk to the people that you're playing for or when you run into them in public or something like that.
Absolutely. Like I can remember one time we were playing in New York City. We were opening for Kiss at Madison Square Garden, and we were staying right across the street from the gardens in this hotel. And there was laundry wasn't a pot. Like it was just, it was gonna be such a hassle. So I'm gonna go out and buy a new pair of jeans. I'm gonna buy a new shirt, and we're gonna just play the show in that gear tonight. So I was in Macy's, and the lady comes up and asks if she could help me, and I said, I think I found my size, and she goes, "What brings you to New York?" And I go, "Oh, just playing Madison Square Gardens with Kiss." And she goes, "Really? Whoa. What kind of music do you play?" And I paused for a second and I thought I was losing it because I could hear all that you are playing. And I was like, "Oh, uh, this." And it was playing on the store PA.
That's amazing. That's pretty cool. Good
Yeah.
timing, I guess, eh? Right in the middle of the conversation you were getting into. So that's
Yeah, it was
pretty
perfect. Yeah, it was
that's pretty
perfect.
funny. Um, I'd be hard pressed not to question you about something you probably talked about. I think you talked about it with a friend of mine. Bonzi Live, I think, is a show that I'm good friends with. He talked to you about your experience being a psychiatric nurse. Um, how
Yeah.
did that come about, and what was that experience like? If you could just talk about it for a few minutes.
Well, so you get to that. I got to a point where there was like this sort of touring and stuff. It was getting difficult to get enough shows to make a really good living just playing Canada without any other country. And I had at the time two very young boys, and was just uncertain of where things were going to go. And I thought, as much as I hate to do this, I really should go back to school and get something that I can do, until later in life, and also maybe part time or just pick up shifts or however it was going to work, so I could continue doing music.
Right.
So I came back. That's what ended up getting me kind of stuck here in Brandon, because I came back to Brandon, Manitoba, where I'd went to university right out of high school, and I went back in and took some prerequisites, and then entered into the Bachelor of Science in Psychiatric Nursing, and I got I received my degree in the Bachelor of Science in Psychiatric Nursing, and then became a registered psychiatric nurse. And right around the time as I was graduating, my mom had died of cancer, and it was shocking. It was unexpected, and it was hard for me to kind of come to terms with. So I took a bit of a pause before going and getting a job, and I ended up the job I took was at Chinipwapka, Dakota Nation, just outside of Pipestone, Manitoba, and it was there that the elders in this community kind of taught me about the Creator. I went to sweats, and I learned to heal, and I healed from the loss of my mother. And I've been working in Dakota communities ever since. And I work in mental wellness, addictions is kind of my thing. But I can do like all the stuff that an LPN can do. So dressing changes, intramuscular injections and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I love it. It's a different thing. I think that my musical background and just having gone to countries all over the world, and met all kinds of people, it's given me sort of a heads up and a way to, you know, be social in those situations, going and seeing clients in their home and having, tough situations sometimes to overcome. It just seems to have all lent itself to those moments right now. And yeah, like I was at work today. I work at this community called Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. It's a self-governing independent Dakota Nation just outside of Brandon, Manitoba, and I work there Monday to Friday.
Wow. Must be fulfilling.
It's really cool. It really is. It's challenging, but it's a great job, and it's all, there's when you get a win in the world of psych nursing, it's like having a really good ovation or something at a show. It feels really good. You feel really good about what you've done, and how you enabled the client to make some positive choices. And yeah, it's a great job.
Well, I commend you on doing what you do because it can't be easy to do either. But I mean, if it takes a certain, I think, personality or person to do things like that. I don't know if I have it. Maybe I do, but not in the same kind of way that you do. But it certainly is commendable to have. We need more people like you out there. That is for sure. Um, and I don't think I think I can speak for anyone that says thank you for doing something like that.
Well, I just like my parents were very active in the community, and I think that volunteerism and taking and working and trying to help members of your community is important. And doing jobs like psychiatric nursing and stuff, those are important jobs. Nursing jobs are important. Social workers, teachers, and sometimes teachers, especially unsung heroes of kids' youth, and they can make have such great impact on lives. And I think that that's something that I value from this position, is that you can affect positive change, you can help heal a community, you can help people heal themselves, you can point them in the direction of resources that would be positive and helpful. And yeah, like, I mean, it may seem like it's, some kind of hardship to do the job, but really it's it suits my personality, and for me it's something that I just really love to do. Not everybody likes this kind of job, but there's other things that people do to make their community stronger, and especially in these times right now, like there's just a lot going
Right.
on in the world, and there's a lot of strange stuff going on in the world, and norms are kind of being challenged, and I think it's time for people to step up and do the right thing, and be, good citizens, and help those that are less, have less than us, the marginalized people of our society. They need love too, and I think, for me anyway, I feel it's important that I go out there and try and do my best to help them.
That's great. And don't be underestimate how much the music helps people too. Because I've always felt better when I've been down in the dumps. I turn to music a lot. And I think that's one of the best ways to help yourself out too. And your music does that as well. Um,
Thanks.
so I think you've already started the tour. You've done one date already, haven't you? Um,
Yeah, we kind of had this like Vancouver date, and then a couple of weeks, and then the thing starts again. But then after that, it's like show. There's like shows all the time, so it's gonna be crazy. And touring like that's so much fun, but it's like holy cow, you gotta be prepared, because it is going to be quite the schedule. But yeah, we did the one show in Vancouver at the Rickshaw. It was amazing. Oh, it was sold out. There was so many people there. It was hot, sweaty, greasy, everything you want a rock show to be.
and do you like touring Canada? Is it something that excites you to get to go to some of these cities again? And
Yeah, like it used to be kind of like, oh, like you wanted to go to some other countries. We've played Canada. But
yeah,
now it's like again, like every show you cannot take it for granted. And so we've learned that, and we're grateful for every show. And actually, a lot of places have changed since, we were touring full time back in the late 90s and mid 2000s. In that whole span, there was like cities have changed, economy has changed, the audiences have changed, the way after COVID, things
yeah.
changed. People appreciate it more. So it's a whole different experience now. I think it's not comparable in some ways to the way it was before. And yeah, I just don't take it for granted. I love it. I love every show, every town. It's always an opportunity to connect, to hear stories, and just have fun. Like just have fun with it, because yeah, life is short, and this opportunity doesn't come around all the time. So we definitely cherish it, and we go out there and we have so much fun, like putting on the show. Like it's such a high energy show that we're just like, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is it hard putting together a set list at this point in your career, or do you just kind of try and mix it up? Or
It's weird, yeah. Like right now, actually, we're making, so on this run, there'll be like half the show is kind of an acoustic thing where I talk a little bit about like all the like a little bit about the songs, a little bit about the some stories, and then we at the end we play like a full tilt rock set for the second half of the show. And so that deciding like Econoline Crush acoustic is kind of funky to begin with, and then deciding what songs to play acoustically and then what songs to play in the other set, that's been a bit challenging. We're still actually hacking through all that and going, okay, what about this? What about that? But it's really cool to have a catalog of material to choose from, and some other, possible covers and things. Who knows what we're going to do? But it is nice having that catalog to pick through, and it's fun to revisit some of those songs I haven't listened to in a long time and go, wow, that is a good tune. Or so yeah, we're going to be pulling some things out of the hat that people haven't heard in a long time.
what would you say your influences are when you've like made you first start trying to wanting to make music? Like if you go back to when you were like in school and stuff like that, who were the first bands that caught your ear that made you go, yeah, I want to make music too?
Um, like Psychedelic Furs, The Cult, U2, Killing Joke, In Excess, Simple Minds, Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
I always thought the 80s music was really good, really awesome melodies, just didn't have a lot of oomph. And then, like, when we got to making it, we were just making 80s music with like really good rock
Yeah,
and sometimes metal guitars. That's the formula right there. Great melodies with really good grooves and great sounding guitars and great sounding, samples and keyboards, and having that sort of underlying sexy percussion
right.
and so you look at In Excess, you look at Killing Joke, U2 in some ways. They were the pioneers of that stuff. And then early Nine Inch Nails, Ministry, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, all these bands on that Wax Trax thing in Chicago, that was going on at the time, Ministry and Frontline Assembly. All of those bands played a role in how we sounded and the kind of music we made.
What were some of the Canadian bands that you might have been influenced by? Were there any Canadian bands that really made you go, "Hey, we can do this too"?
Well, it was interesting. Like for me, like I was close to Winnipeg growing up, so obviously it was Harlequin, Street Heart, The Pumps, um, and Orphan, Chris Gaffney's outfits, and um, The Cheer. Um,
The
there was a lot
Watchmen?
of The Watchmen, but The Watchmen were kind of after us. They weren't really
Oh
influenced.
yeah,
Yeah, they came after us. So, but like all of those things that Garth Richardson's dad, Jack produced, like
yeah.
Street Hard Harlequin and Gatto, or I don't know if he did Gatto, but I know he did Harlequin for sure and some Street Hard. I mean, it was just great rock music, and we'd see them at the bars in Winnipeg when we were in university and playing. And I was in cover bands when I first started, and we'd watch them play and yeah, I remember going, wow, I think we can do this. And it was cool. And Winnipeg has a great rock scene, like an amazing rock scene.
Yeah. You've been around for a while. I mean, I don't want to say that you're old by any means because you're not. But would there be anything in the vault that you guys haven't released but might relook at one day? And I say that because I actually did an interview with somebody about Anne Murray actually recently found some stuff in the vault and released it not long ago. Stuff she's recorded between 76 and 96. Stuff that she recorded and didn't know existed and went through it and actually released it. So I was wondering if you guys had anything like that sitting around.
Well, we do have like some demos. There's a lot of half-baked songs and things that didn't get finished. But it's interesting because that stuff is as fun and as interesting it is as it is for the fans, and maybe it does have its place because you can kind of say this was recorded or this was originally composed during this time. I've always thought that it's kind of part of our job as artists to hold a mirror up to the current situation in the world or in our country or in our city or whatever we're writing our
Mhm.
songs about, but that it's timely. Like that was people say, well, what's the difference between just why don't you just release singles? Why would you want to do a record, an entire record? And it's because I think that that's like has been established as the art form's kind of like it's the basis, it's the standard. And so you put together 8 to 10 songs and it captures a moment in time and it captures your perception of that moment in time. And that to me is kind of cool. And that's what makes records, I think, you know, um, timeless or timely, or sometimes they just don't go past that time. They just are stuck there because that was so on point that it
Mhm.
just doesn't work now. But then there's other stuff. Like I think our music was a little bit ahead of its time in some ways with the way that we were
Yeah.
producing it. And that's why we've been able to kind of stay in the culture and in the rock world because we made music that sort of was where music I felt was going, which was to incorporate all of the things that we had at our fingertips to make the song that much better.
Yeah, the technology definitely helps a lot too, I guess. But I mean, I guess that's a changing of the industry too. The fact that maybe you don't have to follow those rules of like just releasing a whole record anymore. You can put out a single at a time if you want. and make a video and see how that goes. Like, but that wasn't really something you really, well, maybe you did that back in the 50s and 60s. I don't know, but it used to be put an album out and that's it. But now you can get away with doing that again and releasing something online like that.
And I think it does give you an opportunity to go look like this is what we're doing, and you put it out, and then you can kind of get feedback from it if that's so much. But a lot of like I've been listening to a bit of that the stuff that oh gosh, what is his name now? That's going to escape me. The Uber producer there from California, Rick Rubin, when
Yeah,
he talked about, ignore the audience. And it's truly important that you do that. You have to, because if you're chasing the audience, who are you chasing? And
yeah.
what their tastes are fickle and they can go change overnight. Make the music you love. And it's like making a certain kind of like candy bar or something. Just try this. What do you think? That's tasty. Good. We're going to keep making that. Um, and I think that's kind of what we do. And so putting out a single kind of gives you an opportunity to taste test a recipe, I suppose, and then you can go and make a whole album of that. But the way that we do it, we just keep making music. We try to come up with enough money, save up enough money to get in with producers or songwriters or studios that we are on our bucket list or we
Yeah.
want to record in or who we want to record with. Get that and capture that moment. And I think we'll probably just be that way until the end of time because that's who we are as a band. Other bands, maybe they can do singles and then put that collection together. Who knows? We might be able to pull that off. But I personally like to capture moments in time. I like to say, okay, this is what's happening in my life and this is how I felt about it. And then it's kind of dealt with. And maybe that's my own personal kind of demons, and this is how I process it. But that's the way we've done it up until this point, and it's been working for the last 30 years.
But I guess with that whole changing in the industry, it's easier to get it out now faster than it was
Abs-
back in like late 90s, early 2000s. Like you couldn't just get it out there as quick as you wanted to. It might take months before it saw the light of day, but now you can just do it and get it out there.
yeah, that's the truth. And it's like the most interesting thing is, yeah, that you have so many people. Like I forget what the stat was. It's like on a single day, Spotify will get as many singles as were released in the entire uh, year 1989.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy, isn't it, to think about that?
yeah, and a lot of the songs won't be heard by a human. Like they'll only go on those um and algorithm playlists, and then they'll be
Right.
just by tempo and vibe or whatever, and then they'll put it wherever they think it's supposed to go. And that to me is kind of sad because it's like
Yeah.
it just is a lot of music to overcome and to try and swim to the top of the pile and get heard. And you have, people with disposable income putting out mediocrity, and it's kind of rising to the top because they can promote it. But I think over time, though, you do see that the great songs do win out in the end because human beings talk about it and human beings share it.
Exactly. That's what I agree with too. And by the way, I like to promote the fact that you release your stuff on Bandcamp. I'm hearing that by a lot of artists these days, and I like it. I prefer it because the artist actually makes some money from it, as
Yeah,
opposed to Spotify. It almost seems impossible for an artist to make anything from it. But I've been hearing a lot about Bandcamp from several artists I've interviewed over the past year, and from what I'm hearing, I'm really liking that avenue to get your music out.
I agree. And the thing is, like, it's amazing that we somehow let this happen, but I guess it's just the dynamics at play. It's people want to be in the music business, so they'll do almost anything to get in, and including not getting paid for their singles and working it at social media and doing all these things. And yeah, it's a crazy time, but at the same time, it's also a great time. Like you said, within, minutes of finishing a song, you can put it out if you want, like it's not
Yeah,
there's nothing holding you back, and there's not a lot of gatekeepers. And so it is exciting, but again, the social media does have its drawbacks and stuff. So you got to get out there. And I think that's what we're trying to learn is the balance between touring, social media, interviews
Right.
when you're doing all that stuff and just trying to get the word out that this is that we have music and that we are still making music and that we're still a band and we want people to come see us and appreciate it, you know?
Do you like the way the technology is that you don't have to go to much music or a big show to get interviews and get your stuff out there? You can go to people like myself, which I appreciate. But there's a lot of us. I know there's a lot of us out there, and it's impossible to do every one. Um, but I mean, you could go on Tom Power tomorrow and reach more people than you would with someone like myself. Do you prefer it this way, or do you like going to other smaller podcasts or YouTube guys like myself?
Yeah, like I think I like it because I mean, all interviews, I always like the interview process. I always like trying to figure out the interview or trying to
Yeah,
talk about stuff, the angle that people come from. I think that was my favorite part of radio, and it's what bothered me as we got into the music business. They took the personality out of radio. They made
yeah,
the the people that were radio personalities not have a personality. They just had to stick to this script and they had to stick to the songs and
yeah.
they couldn't program and ugh, that to me is where radio lost it and where you guys are picking up the mantle and carrying it. You're featuring acts that you like, you're playing music that you like, you're asking the questions you want. And so this is where people come now to get the information that they want. And big or small, it doesn't matter. Podcasts to me are personality driven and they're fun to do. And I like I like to figure out, I like to hear where people are coming from, like what they're asking about our band tells me a lot about where we're at. And so I love doing all kinds of podcasts and I like to share the experiences and a little bit of knowledge if I can. Because yeah, I've been in this business for a while. I've seen a few things and hopefully somebody listening to this will go, maybe I will try that. Maybe I will put out my music and see what happens. And I mean, hey, you get 25 people listening to it and loving it. Those 25 people, you've had an impact on their life, and you can't diminish that. And your friends go, oh, only 25 people. Who cares? Those 25 people think you're amazing. And that's all that matters. 25 or 2,500, it's irrelevant, really, as long as you're affecting change and making cool things that you love, that you as the artist love.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do this for money. I do it for fun. I do it because
Yep.
I love music and I love all kinds of music, and it excites me to be able to talk to someone like yourself and some of the people that I've talked to over the past couple of years that I've been doing this. Like I'm blown away by some of the people I've I've had trouble not fanning out for some people that I've interviewed. Actually, I interviewed the Grapes of Wrath, one of my favorite bands of all time. They've always been right up there, and not only I've interviewed Kevin 3 times, and it blows my mind that I'm able to talk to him after being such a big fan of their band. I think it's amazing that they'd even want to talk to someone like myself. But I'm grateful and it's fun, and if money
Yeah.
comes my way sometime, that'd be great. But I don't care. I'm doing this because I love it, and I assume that's why you keep making music, because deep down you still love
Yeah, it's no big money maker, believe me, but it is something that I love, and it's like I said, it's how I process my own interaction with life and with the universe. It's like, oh my gosh, like how do I understand? I can't, there's things that happen to you, and the only way that you can kind of express yourself is in a song, and that's what I think is so amazing and so magical about music is you can hear these chords and I'll hear a chord progression, and all of a sudden a memory or an idea will just come flooding into your brain, and you just start writing, and you hear melodies, and you just try to make it all glue together. And when you do get it to glue together, and it does sort of hit the nail on the head as to what you were trying to say and what you heard when you first heard that chord progression, I mean, like wow, like that's just magic stuff, man, and like that's what blows my mind. And I think that to go without that would be torturous. Like I couldn't see myself not doing it.
I'm happy to hear that, because that means we'll hear some more music from you guys down the road, which I always look forward to. Like I said, I love hearing new music from bands more than anything. I'm one of those people that I've never forgotten the excitement of hearing something new from a great band. You know, how
Yeah, it's cool, right?
exciting.
Like
Yeah.
when you hear that first new single and you're like, "Ooh, it's a little bit like this, but it's like this too." And then yeah, and just all of yeah, it's great. And I love it too in a band. Like I can remember getting Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains, playing it once and then throwing it in the corner and going, well, I don't even like this. And then like a couple weeks later seeing it in there and picking it up, putting it back in, listening to it and go, well, maybe it's pretty good. To then, gosh, I love this. Like it's like you just have to catch up to the band sometimes. Sometimes you gotta
Yeah.
appreciate the flavor.
And I've always got that whole wonder of, I wonder what they're going to come out with next.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
a band like Rush was always like that for me because they were always so different. They weren't afraid to experiment, good or bad. They did different stuff, and I'm always like, I wonder what they're going to come out with this time. And you guys are that kind of band too. Like, I mean, because you guys have always had kind of like you said, a more modern approach to your music. So I'm always like, wonder what they're going to do now. When I heard you were putting a new signal out, I got a single. I was like, I gotta hear what they're doing now.
That's so
And it's still awesome. It's still amazing. If anyone's out there, please check it out. It's highly worth it. You guys still have it, and you probably will for a lot longer. I mean, if the Rolling Stones can keep doing it that long, you guys can too. So, and I hope you do.
yeah, I do too. I think it's and that's what's the amazing thing about the art that form that we're in. You look at painting, say, or sculpture, and it goes back, hundreds of years. Rock and roll, some of our founding kind of members of the club are the Rolling Stones, are the Beatles. And they're still with us, and Keith Richards will probably be here long after all of us are gone. And
Yeah, it certainly seems like it, doesn't it?
yeah,
But,
yeah.
but
Telling you, man, the day that Keith Richards passes, the whole world's going to go crazy because it's going to be end times.
I think the cool thing is when I do interview people is they're still fans of music.
Yeah,
You make music, you influence people yourself, but you're still a fan yourself.
yeah, it's
And,
true.
and that's
Yeah,
the best part. So, you know, the fact that you're a fan is the reason you got into music in the first place. So, and I love hearing that. And I love talking to you guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you joining me tonight. I really appreciate your time. It's awesome to speak with you and have a good tour. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. And if you do go back on the road, you got to come out east.
I know, man. Like I can't believe we haven't been out there, and especially to Prince Edward Island. It's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful places in Canada. I can't believe we don't go out there every year for crying out loud. It's just that there's a lot of Canadian shield in the way.
Well, you know the best time to come out here is February, right? So
Yeah, maybe that's we got to do it. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I look forward to the fact that you might come out here at some point, even if you come as close as Moncton or Halifax, might be worth making the trip out and
Yeah,
doing that. But you won't regret coming to PEI. But I do understand the logistics aren't easy sometimes too. It costs money to bring a whole band out here, which is
yeah,
what the Grapes of Wrath were actually doing. They were doing an acoustic duo thing. You know, it's
yeah.
people travel around with two acoustic guitars. Maybe you guys could do something like that. I don't know if you can. That might be something interesting. You come play a nice little club like the Trailside in Charlottetown with a couple of acoustic guitars and do your music like that. That might be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know what that would sound like, but yes, it could happen. I just, yeah, I'm hoping that we can bring the whole loud crash boom bang show out there and let it rip because that's when we're in our natural element, and I think that's what the people of Prince Edward Island deserve, and the Maritimes deserve is to see the band in its natural element, just ripping it, and we got to get out there. So if there's concert promoters out there, we want to come. Let's work on this.
I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to come out here. Like I said, Somo Fest. I think you guys would totally fit in on that
I'd love to.
on the main stage. It's 2 years, 3 years they've done the festival now. It keeps getting better every year. So if I hear from the organizer who I've interviewed a couple of times, I'll mention your name to him.
Thank you, thank you. That would be great.
Okay, thanks very much for joining me, Trevor. Best of luck, and
Thanks, Alan. All
hope
the
to talk
best.
to you again sometime.
Okay,
Take
cool.
care.
Bye.
Bye.